Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Robert Donaldson, and welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets. And in this episode, we are once again talking about college hoops, baby, here on Wednesday, November 12th. And on the 11th, on Tuesday, we had a really fantastic day. We nearly brought in 6 more units, and man, we've just been killing it this college basketball season to start off. I'm very excited with where we could be going with this sport this season. And hey, every single day for the rest of, I don't know how many days in a row here, but we're going to have a lot of college basketball down the stretch is basically my point. And I am so excited to hop into the picks here on the 12th on Wednesday. But first, we do need to take a second to shout out today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't already signed up using promo code ROBDFB, I highly recommend you guys do so. But with all that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and jump into these picks here in college hoops here on Wednesday. All right, first up, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Northern Kentucky and ETSU. Two teams that we really fell in love with near the back half of last season, but for NKU, this is a very new roster, and I do feel like it's going to take a little bit of time for Darren Horn and company to really kind of get everything figured out after last year's roster had so many veterans, so many talented players, and really, they didn't return much of them. And when you are looking at ETSU, this is a team that I'm actually very excited about this season because although we liked them last year, we like them as kind of that middling team in the SoCon with some upside. This year, they kind of feel like a team that could transcend that middle grouping in the SoCon and potentially even, have the bid coming out of this league, which would be a really fun thing to kind of get on the wagon of early on. And I get it. They're laying 7.5 points here. And for a team that, is already 1-1 on the season, a lot of people might be tentative to want to lay that kind of number. But hey, I am fully on board with it. I think it's a reasonable number. And I say we go ahead and we lay the 7.5 points for 2 units for our first bet here on Wednesday. For pick number 2, we are heading out to Richmond, Virginia, where we have a matchup here between St. Peter's and VCU. And obviously, St. Peter's is a team that, with Shaheen Holloway, made that incredible run in the NCAA tournament a few years back. But now the program, in sort of its wake, hasn't really, built off that momentum. And they do feel like kind of one of the middling teams in the MAAC. And when you are looking at VCU here in a spot where they're coming off a loss against Utah State on a quote-unquote, neutral site venue, and they're going back to the Siegel Center where they tend to kind of lay the wood against teams like St. Pete in this matchup, I don't think we overthink this one. I know it's a 21.5 point spread. That is a pretty hefty number. But I do feel like VCU has the horses this year to really get up and cover against these types of teams by these types of margins. And for that reason, let's go ahead and lay the 21.5 points here for 2 units for our second bet here on Wednesday. For pick number 3, we are taking a look at a matchup here between North Texas and Oregon State. And when you're looking at this matchup here, this was kind of a toss-up in terms of, do I want to bet it, period? If so, how much do I want to jump in on it? Because if it were kind of a game in a vacuum, I would love North Texas at this number. Now, the last time out, they were on the road against Loyola Chicago. They came away with a buzzer beater, and in the second half, it kind of looked like they had some tired legs almost kind of weighing them down, and that was just a couple days ago. Now they're on the road again in Corvallis, but I do feel like North Texas in this spot is still worth a bet because of the perception that, hey, Oregon State, high major, or a team that has a high major type of brand, and they're 2-0, playing at home, laying an enticing number, a lot of people are going to probably be on the Oregon State side, but North Texas feels like a team that might be one of these mid-major darlings this season, and for that reason, I do want to catch that 2.5 points. I'm not going to go as heavy as I probably would if I didn't know the previous game out, what sort of happened, what sort of transpired, but I still say we go ahead. We take the 2.5 for 2 units for our third bet here on Wednesday. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Montana State and Stanford, and we've already backed Montana State one time this year against a high major opponent in Colorado, and they had Colorado on the ropes. They had a really good chance to actually win that game outright as a 12.5 point dog, and although I do think Stanford is a better version of Colorado in terms of, just kind of being in the middle of a conference and having that kind of tentative upside, but not too much upside, I do feel like what's kind of feeding into this line is that Montana State is 1-2 on the season. They have yet to win a game against a Division I basketball team, and on the other side, Stanford's undefeated. That's an enticing looking record, and a lot of people are going to be prone to want to lay this kind of number against a 1-2 mid-major opponent. But Montana State is not your run-of-the-mill mid-major, and I do actually believe that they're going to have a chance to win this game outright. But hey, we're catching 14.5 points, and I say we take them for 4 units for our final bet here on Wednesday. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and if you do want to show some love, make sure you drop a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you guys comment down below. But with all that being said, y'all, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.